Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to talk about the index funds that I am buying in 2026. Going to talk about why, the allocations, and so forth there. So let's go and dive into it. So, why do I choose index funds specifically? Because, first of all, they're simple, right? You don't have to go pick 500 individual stocks. You don't have to go do any type of extensive research on, companies. You pick certain index funds based upon criteria or categories you want to kind of follow. And it's that simple. They're low cost, right? So comparing index funds to, like, say, actively managed mutual funds or actively managed funds, index funds are going to be much, much cheaper because there's no active management involved. They can pretty much design a system to, uh, select the stocks based upon market cap, and so forth there. So it can pretty much be automated. Long-term investing, it's definitely, picking individual stocks can be very challenging, right? Like, you have to make two very big decisions: when to buy and when to sell. When buying index funds, you don't have to do that. You can buy and comfortably hold for a very long time because rebalancing is being done quarterly by the fund manager, kind of like behind the scenes. So my investing philosophy, right? So low cost, compound, just like returns. The difference of, a lower expense ratio versus a higher expense ratio, looking over 20, 30, 40 years, you may not think is a lot, but is actually can be quite significant. Broad diversification reduces single point failure. Like we talked about, you definitely can get some outsized returns having a smaller, focused portfolio. And by all means, like, I think certain times in your life that could definitely make sense. But for me personally, I want the broad diversification spread across many stocks, just to, kind of like this post says here, to reduce single point failure. So if we have a bad earnings report or some bad news comes out about a company, I'm less affected by that volatility. Long-term compounding beats short-term optimization. So I'm focusing on long-term. As far as the allocations and optimization here, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. I want to focus on creating the good behaviors, the good discipline to live below my means, invest as much as possible, save as much as possible, and then later down the road we can always optimize portfolios more significantly whenever your portfolio is much bigger there. Okay, so here are the 4 ETFs I'm going to be looking at. Do keep in mind there's a little 5% buffer here, and that can really just be cash. You could allocate more to a specific ETF, or you could do sell some options, sell some cash secured puts. I wanted just a little bit of buffer just in case an opportunity arises in like a specific individual stock or specific like sector ETF that I kind of want to take advantage of. So that's the reasoning there. But first one on the list is VTI. I'm planning a 40% allocation to that fund. It's just the core total U.S. stock market, a very good ETF that I like. There's some other ones out there as well, that's pretty similar. You can also buy like mutual fund equivalents. So Vanguards would be VSKAX, and the Fidelities would be like FSKAX. Next one on the list is SPY. I know there's a lot of overlap with VTI and SPY, but I'm completely fine with that at this point in my investing journey. I can always reallocate later, but 25% allocated to SPY, large cap, stability, and profitability. QQQ, once again, another one with a good bit of overlap, growth and innovation tilt. But the plan here is to potentially sell options down the road on these two ETFs, And until then, I definitely want exposure to the large cap that both of those hold. And then lastly, international 15%. I like having some international exposure in my portfolio for sure. This year it's definitely been a great year for that. The past several years it's been kind of getting beat up, but I think long term it definitely is a good thing to do, to have international exposure in your portfolio. So we're briefly going to be talking about the overlap, like I just mentioned, between VTI, SPY, and QQQ. Overlap does not mean redundancy. It means owning the same dominant companies through different lenses. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Google. These companies dominate the U.S. economy, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. So, with that being said, I'm fine with being a little bit more of a tilt towards those stocks and that particular sector of the market. And I think overlap is fine there, as long as you're aware that there is a chance and a potential doing of being overlapped in a particular sector of the market there. Okay, so what each ETF is actually doing: VTI, the base layer, owns the entire US market. Think of VTI as the index of indexes. SPY, the quality filter, top 500 profitable US companies, stability through leadership. And then we also didn't talk about QQQ, but QQQ is the NASDAQ 100. You're going to have all of the growth and technology innovative companies minus financials. And then VXUS was the international one. So same thing as VTI, but just international. The point isn't diversification, it's weighting. You're not trying to own different stocks. You're deciding how much weight each part of the global market gets. VTI, SPY, QQQ, and VXUS. Overlap equals controlled exposure, not duplication. So what happens when we might have a market crash? VTI drops, the US market drops. So none of these ETFs are going to be immune to that. If we have a market drop, they're all going to be affected. SPY usually falls less than small caps due to profitability and scale. QQQ falls more, but historically rebounds faster during recoveries. VXUS behaves differently by country, currency, and economic cycle. The goal is not to avoid losses. It is stay invested through them, right? So being able to sit there on your hands and not click the sell button, being able to be content with your portfolio, not look at your portfolio every day, designing a system where you don't have to look at it every day. ETFs and these particular funds, I think, could be a great potential thing that you could do there. And then the final thought for this video, this portfolio is not exciting, and that's kind of the point. It compounds quietly while letting you sleep at night. Ultimately, I'm looking for a simple, low-cost, long-term plan that will bring success. But at the end of the day, and if you're new to the market, please take this video with a grain of salt. Past returns do not indicate future returns. There's always risk when investing into the market. Make sure you do your own research and make sure you're comfortable with not needing this money for anywhere from 5 to 10 years. I think 5 is probably the minimum, but I mean, sometimes you can get away with shorter term hold periods, but the last thing you want to do is drop $10,000, $100,000 into the market, and then we have a pullback like the next week, drops 10%. So your money is now at $90,000, and then you panic sell and you sell, then you have $90,000 of cash, right? So you don't want to be in that position. Only invest money that you don't need. Short term. Short-term money should not be invested. Simple as that. At least that's my thought. just be careful. I hate to see people put money in, like we just talked about, the market drops, then they freak out and sell. So just be disciplined with that. And a portfolio like this, definitely go do your own research. This is just example purposes. This is kind of what I'm kind of aiming for in 2026, as I like to sell options occasionally. But I think this portfolio is really going to be more of like just a very passive, like I could set up the allocations and then delete the app for 6 months and then check back in 6 months. Some alternatives, right? So you can actually switch this out with VOO. That would be one you could switch out, and then you could switch this one out with QQQM. Those are two cheaper alternatives, and a lot of people, prefer those type of ones as well. I like SPY and QQQ. I just trade them like on another account, so I'm comfortable with those funds. The bid-ask spreads are going to be a little bit better, so you may save a little bit of money on that, and then eventually, the options market, covered call, cash secured puts is a lot more advantageous in these two funds versus the other ones there. So that's why I prefer SPY and QQQ. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Are you doing something similar? Are you buying index funds in 2026? Would love to hear your guys' thoughts and kind of how you guys think the market's going to do in 2026 and going forward. Thanks, guys. See ya.